I have watched my family struggle with diet-related health issues my entire life. I don't remember a time when my late grandmother didn't have type 2 diabetes, and watching her having to prick her finger and give herself insulin when I was a kid, it didn't necessarily seem that maybe type 2 diabetes was so bad. But that's because when I was a kid, I was witnessing the early stages of type 2 diabetes. By the time I became an adult, I really begun to see how the disease has affected my grandmother's health. Her feet constantly had open sores on them because they wouldn't heal, because that's what diabetes does to the circulation in your feet. She never ended up losing limbs or losing her sight, but she was very, very, very close to losing her feet. And I began to see her struggle through this as an adult. And I knew, even as a kid, my mother and I would talk about it, and we would tell each other, we don't want type 2 diabetes, because even as a kid, we could see her giving herself insulin, and I somehow knew that the disease would progress, and I knew what type 2 diabetes does to a person logically, just having done research on the disease, but I hadn't seen it firsthand until I became an adult. So when the diet and lifestyle related health issues began to hit a little bit closer to home and my stepdad began to experience issues, then we knew that we needed to change even more. We thought that as a family, we were doing a pretty decent job of living a healthy lifestyle, especially now that we all live out in the country. The main thing that has changed our diet out here is that there are no restaurants, no fast food places. We have to cook everything at home. And while I would absolutely highly recommend everyone cook at home, it still wasn't quite enough to undo a lifetime of diet and health related choices. The doctor wanted my stepdad to go even further and to eliminate meat and dairy from his diet. And in addition, he needs to also watch his sugars. So I decided that I would also switch to a whole foods plant-based diet with my stepdad, because what's good for him is going to be good for us as well. So my mother and I are also eating the same foods as him, and we want him to be successful and we want him to be around here for longer. Switching to a whole foods plant-based diet and listening to the advice of his doctor could potentially in the future result in a reduction in the medications that he is currently on. There are some medications that we expect he may be on forever, but even if we can reduce some of the medications that he is on by healing his body through his diet, then that is definitely a win-win. So a whole foods plant-based diet is different than a vegan or vegetarian diet in that while my stepdad isn't supposed to eat meat or dairy, he is transitioning off meat and dairy. But the main difference about a whole foods plant-based diet and let's say a vegan or vegetarian diet is that we also don't want to get into the habit of using faux meat and faux dairy. And that's because faux meat and faux dairy tends to be just as bad in terms of fat and sugars for the diet that he needs as full-on meat and dairy. So we are focusing every single meal mostly on vegetables first, cooking as many things as we can from scratch, and there are some foods that he needs to eliminate, but we're not going to talk about that in this video. If you want to hear more specifics about his diet very specifically, we would be happy to make a video about that. Let me know in the comments. And in the meantime, we're just going to continue on with this transition. Alright, so tonight is the first night that I am cooking plant-based. Now, I'm not a stranger to, you know, like meatless Mondays and all of that kind of stuff. I have often eaten either vegan or vegetarian in the past, especially if I can't afford meat. Like, when you're a poor adult, vegetarian is definitely cheaper. So tonight I am having stir fry and I'm using the exact same recipe that I would use. I'm just don't have the meat. So I've got some vegetables cut up here. I've got some carrots, some red pepper, some onion, and some celery in this little bowl. It doesn't look like a crazy amount, but once I put the noodles in and like cook it all down, like it'll be, you know, a little bit better. So I want to clarify through this experiment that we are aiming for a whole food plant-based diet, specifically for heart health, and we're also watching our sugars a little bit too. I don't really have all that much of a sweet tooth, so it's not going to be too difficult. So that looks really good. But I can already absolutely guarantee you that that is not enough food for me. I am really, 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 really hungry. So I am going to make up a Caesar salad and just throw it on the same plate. Yeah, I know Caesar dressing isn't plant-based, there's anchovies in it, but it's a process, okay? All right, there we go. So we have the stir fry, and I just made up a little Caesar salad here. I think it's doing pretty good. The croutons are also not plant-based. There is Parmesan cheese in them. I looked. I think the main point of this meal that's important is that we are eliminating, by and large, the meat and the dairy. Yeah, you know, the croutons have dairy in it, and the salad dressing is like anchovy based, but we don't have any, you know, large amounts of protein and large amounts of dairy. That's what we're aiming for through this process. So the nice thing about eating the dinner that I did is that I don't feel like exhausted. It's about 7:50 in the evening, so it's almost 8 in the evening, and normally by this time I would be just like completely dead on my feet. And I used to always think that that was just because like dinner takes a lot of energy, right, to prepare, but I think it's just because I was eating these heavier dinners. So I just finished my dishes here, so kitchen's all clean, and now apparently my stepdad is supposed to walk an hour every day, so I'm gonna go over there now and convince them to come walking with me. Now we're not gonna walk a full hour because it is like pitch dark outside, but you know, some walking is better than no walking. So I'm gonna go over there and convince them to go for a little walk with me and the dogs just down the road and back, and then it's shower time. I would like to make some granola as well this evening, but we'll see. It's already close to 8 o'clock, so we might not have time, but we'll see. It's morning, and I am just about to have first breakfast. I normally have first breakfast and second breakfast after I get to work, because my work also feeds me breakfast. The breakfast that my work feeds me is usually more like a snack. It's not like they're feeding me, I don't know, bacon and eggs and pancakes or anything. So I always have to sort of be aware of that. But I have some apples that I cut up this morning, and then about 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. And that will be my first breakfast, and then I'll eat second breakfast at work. So today at work, for second breakfast, I had some blueberry scones that they made, which I was very grateful for. And then for lunch, work provided lunch again, and it was almost like a lasagna type thing. They called it like an enchilada, but it like wasn't, because it was made more in bulk, but it represented more of a lasagna. It was like beef and like noodles and rice and vegetables. Is really good. And then for also for lunch, in addition to like a slice of lasagna-esque thing, they also serve like a big salad, right? So you get a salad with a bunch of vegetables and like a house-made dressing. And for dinner tonight, I'm eating some leftover pancakes that I just had in the fridge, and they need to get eaten up. These are milk-free, egg-free pancakes that I make whenever I either can't afford milk or eggs. I mean, we have chickens now, so I always have eggs, but in case I can't afford milk, or in this case, I just didn't have milk. I'm not a milk drinker, so unless I have almond milk in the house, like I just make milk-free, egg-free, or, you know, milk-free pancakes. And I can link that recipe because it's actually a really good recipe. Produces some really nice pancakes, and all you need is water, flour, vanilla, some kind of butter, right? So there is butter in these pancakes. And I put cinnamon and vanilla. Oh, and baking powder, and then that's it. All right, so this morning I did not eat breakfast at home, which is pretty rare, but sometimes it happens. I just got caught up with chatting with my family, so no breakfast at home, but I'll have breakfast when I get to school, and I'll have breakfast when I get to work. So I'll eat there, and then lunch at work, so forth. It is dinner time on day 3 of eating a whole foods plant-based diet. My phone has 2% battery life left.
I don't know what that was, but and so hopefully I'm just gonna do this really fast. Okay, so one of my cats was in the litter box, so I definitely did start picking at this a little bit because I'm just so hungry. But this is my dinner. I have a salad and I have a potato with some cheese on here. I do want to eat less cheese, but this isn't about punishing ourselves, you know, this is about progress. I think the thing that I've learned most throughout this process is before I would make a salad. Like a little, like my salads were sad because so much emphasis on my meal was put on like my meat and my starchy vegetables, such as my potatoes, for example. So the thing that I learned before, or the thing that I've learned so far, is that the majority of my plate is now focused on vegetables. As you can see, like, look at this salad. It's a big salad. And this isn't like a salad. This is like a salad. Before, it was, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry and that plate is so hot. Okay. Before, because, you know, like a standard meal wouldn't be this, especially weeknight meal. It wouldn't be salad and like a potato with like some cheese, right? A standard meal before plant-based, you know, whole food plant-based would be a potato, like a baked potato, exactly the same size, blah, 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 probably with some cheese and some chicken and like a tiny little bit of vegetables. And usually my salads, my side salads were like just a handful of lettuce with like some dressing and like that's it, right? So now that I'm putting so much more emphasis on, I just had to close my wood stove because it was getting up to temperature. So I put so much more emphasis on my vegetables. You'll notice that this salad has some carrots, some peppers, and some, what are those things called? Some celery, right? So I actually like cut up a bunch of vegetables and put it in with my lettuce. It's not just like sad lettuce and blah, blah, blah. I also really like croutons and freaking dressing, right? I try not to drown my salad in dressing. I try and use my dressing very moderately, especially because it's a store-bought dressing, which isn't the best. But whatever, I have it. I'm not throwing it out. I'm going to use it, right? I also really do need to clarify that I do not think that eating healthy requires salads all the time. Absolutely not. I don't even like salads all the time, but lately I've really been craving Caesar salad. So this is why I'm eating so many salads. But next week, I think I'm going to put more emphasis on, like, I really want to make a really big stew, for example, which is like a vegetable stew. Like, it's going to have no beef in it. And so I really do think that you can eat very, very healthy and not have salads. So if you're like not a huge fan of salads, like, that's okay. I think the other mistake people make when eating healthfully is rather than adding things, they cut things out. And for me personally, okay, yes, my stepdad needs to cut some stuff out, right? Because that's for his health and everything like that, right? But I personally try and approach it more from a point of view of I need to eat more of this rather than I need to eat less of this. So rather than saying, oh, I'm not allowed to have any meat, say, rather than having a sad salad, I'm gonna make a salad, right? And I'm gonna add even more vegetables. Because for me, I wouldn't be able to eat all of this food plus chicken because it's too much food for me personally, right? Now, the thing that I have found eating more plant-based is that I do get hungry faster. I have to eat more smaller meals, right? So this is going to tide me over for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, but just before bed, I'm going to have a snack. I can have a little piece of dark chocolate. If I'm feeling something more, I can have some fruit, like a banana or an apple. If my stomach is feeling really, really empty, I can add some peanut butter to that, right? We're not starving ourselves. We're not going hungry. We are listening to our bodies. We're making sure that we are eating the right amount of food that is for us. All right, so my dinner's done and I'm having my dessert, which is some dark chocolate. Once again, we're not measuring. This isn't like a diet where you're allowed, I don't know, only 2 pieces of chocolate, right? I can eat as much as I want. The nice thing with me and dark chocolate, because I've always had a good relationship with dark chocolate, is that unlike a candy bar because it just has, I don't know, a lot of stuff I probably shouldn't have, I don't find candy bars very satisfying. Like, I will eat an entire candy bar in like one sitting and then still want more because that's how that food is designed, right? With dark chocolate, it's different. I can have a square or maybe even 2. This will be my second square and it's fine. I feel satisfied and I can stop. But again, not like I don't believe in measuring, so eat your dessert. I've recorded this like 6 times because my cats in the background are just not they're like making so much noise. Okay, so it is the morning of day 4 of trying to convert my diet to more of a plant-based diet. This morning I have toast with peanut butter and banana. And I'm trying to, yesterday I didn't get a chance to eat breakfast in the morning before I went to work. Like I had like a breakfast when I went to work, but it was just like 2 muffins, right? So it's really important because dinner is, while it used to be my heaviest meal of the day, is now my lightest meal of the day. So it's really important that I eat very shortly after getting up and before I go to work. And then I eat again. I eat usually a snack when I get to work. And then I don't usually eat at all until lunchtime because by the time I have my snack when I get to work kind of thing, it's like, I don't know, just after 9. And then I don't eat it all until lunchtime. And then I will usually have a small snack as I'm making my dinner, and then I have dinner, and then sometimes I have a snack after dinner. So yeah, so it's really important that I eat this morning.